Hi, this is your host, Erin Reed, with Awaken to Your Greatest Life. Discover the secrets to experiencing your best life yet. I'd like to welcome you to our call with today's guest, Jeff Gignac. Jeff Gignac is a clinical hypnotherapist, a master practitioner of NLP, a personal and corporate coach, as well as the creator of some of the most widely acclaimed brainwave entrainment and meditation programs. Many thought leaders come to Jeff to produce cutting-edge technologies for them. On today's call, you're going to discover how to bridge the gap between your conscious and subconscious mind so you can effortlessly access your own personal power, inner wisdom, and guidance anytime you wish. You'll experience the law of attraction like never before by eliminating the two most common problems that cause struggle and block manifestation in our lives. You'll experience an empowering strategy for eliminating subconscious resistance, removing self-doubt, and boosting your self-confidence to levels beyond what most people will ever experience. You'll also discover how to effortlessly create the exact emotions you want as often as you wish. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to the call.
Thanks, Erin. I'm really happy to be here.
Well, we have so much to cover today. I'm going to jump right in. And can you start off by giving us a couple of minutes and share what you believe to be the major turning points that allowed you to manifest your current level of success?
Well, Erin, it's really hard to isolate one event because, one day I'm going to write a book about my life because it's had so many amazing twists and turns. But, I think one of the best decisions I ever made in my life happened many years ago is I decided to get recertified in neurolinguistic programming because the first time I got certified, I was about 15 years old, and I think I was one of the youngest in history. And so I was really young to learn a lot of this information. So what I did is I sought out a master trainer of neurolinguistic program named Elizabeth Butler. She runs a great school in Toronto, Canada. And Elizabeth, started out as my teacher and became my mentor and now is an honored friend, lifelong friend. But the reason why I say it's one of the best decisions and probably has most to do with all the turning point and what I've been able to manifest and all the success I've been able to create in my life is because she's the one that guided me through a really powerful shift in consciousness that changed my life forever. What she did is she taught me to let go of the idea of controlling and managing my emotions in favor of creating emotions that naturally connect with my goals and desires. And, at first I resisted this concept because I really didn't understand it. But once I started to think about it and play with it, I came to understand why it's really so important. You might have heard that it takes more muscles and more energy to frown than it does to smile, right? And the same is true with emotions. It takes way more energy to manage and control emotions than it does simply just to create them, right? And so once I started creating the right type of emotions at the right time that lined up with what I was doing and what I was focusing on, my behavior changed. And the way I approached things changed. The decisions and the choices that I made moment to moment, day after day, went through an amazing transformation. And, before I made this shift, I struggled to get business. I struggled to find opportunities. I struggled with money. I struggled with relationships. I felt I was constantly chasing down my dreams and, all my goals and dreams were like running away from me just as fast as I was running towards them, right? And after I made this shift, something absolutely amazing happened. Every major opportunity that has brought me success and happiness and contributed to the life that I want to live and that I am living, in every single instance started with a phone call or an email. I haven't had to go look for anything in years, and after making these changes, the opportunities just kept finding me. And since I've made this shift in my life, I've been telling everyone because, it's a lot simpler than a lot of concepts out there. And, when I tell people this, depending on people's attitudes and life philosophies, I usually get three very unique responses. And like one, the NLP and hypnosis people, which I'm part of that community, say, well, of course, creating emotions work, right? Because you're programming yourself for success using, positive emotions, which is absolutely correct. The psychologists and the neuroscientists say, the reason this works is because your physical and mental performance, the action we take and the decisions we make are intimately tied to our emotions. Each emotional state changes the way our brain works and the information we have access to. So that's also correct. And also the people that align themselves with the law of attraction say, show me, which I love that response, because what it tells me is that people that are aligned with this type of philosophy are actually going to take action. So I love that response. I know they're going to use the information I share with them. But on top of that, I guess part of this concept that really made a great shift for me in my life is I've come to understand that these ideas about purposefully creating emotions is not just an NLP concept. It's just not a hypnosis concept. It's not just a neuroscience or a law of attraction concept. It's a universal concept that just works. And actually, the fact that I'm talking to you, Erin, today, and all your wonderful listeners is actually a great example of that. I wouldn't be here unless someone picked up the phone and called me. I was minding my own business, and I got a call and said, hey, how would you like to come here and talk? And so it's just an awesome example of how it works.
I love that. I love that your whole presence today with us is a result of your teachings, which is amazing. And, we've all heard that. We've all heard that emotions run our lives, and you can feel that when you are in a negative emotional state, how it is running your life and coloring everything and driving you towards one result instead of the one you want. So I think it's so amazing to be talking about that today and to be discovering how to use that to our advantage.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Jeff, most people that know you as one of the most sought-after experts in brainwave entrainment technology. How did you get started with the law of attraction?
Well, I started creating all kinds of brainwave entrainment technology, and I started creating all kinds of goal achievement classes and goals, and started teaching it, and had phenomenal results. I mean, I've worked with the richest of the rich to the poorest of the poor, and, myself and my team, we've created amazing results. But time and time again, I would get these emails that would come in and say, look, I'm really familiar with the law of attraction. I've spent all this money. I've spent all kinds of stuff studying it, but I'm not really getting anywhere. People would say this to me, and sometimes they would get on the phone and just call me and say, I feel like I'm doing everything right, but I just can't seem to aim it. I just can't seem to. And so after answering this email, and some of these questions and on some of the live webinars I've done over and over and over again, I started to really take a look, and I started to come up with some really amazing ideas about what was going on with people. I found two major problems that people go through is that the emotional state that they live in day to day just doesn't line up with what it is that they're trying to achieve. I find that people that understand the law of attraction really understand the way it works, right? They understand that the external reality that we experience, monies, cars, house, job, relationships, health, is really just a mere reflection of what's going on inside us, right? The thoughts, feelings, and emotions and beliefs. What I found that what most people struggle with is actually creating and maintaining those emotional beliefs. And so that's how I kind of got roped into really talking about the law of attraction, because I really hadn't prior to that. And I found several ways I was able to help people begin to create the kind of emotions that really line up with their desires so they could really start getting results.
I love that, and I think we've all had that experience. We've understood maybe in a conceptual way the law of attraction, but we haven't connected it to our emotions to apply it to our lives. Without the connection, nothing is going to work, right? If you don't have the wires tied together for electricity, it's not going to turn on the light. But I think that's so important that you have kind of combined those worlds with the work that you do so that people who have wanted to incorporate the law of attraction can now do that. So that's amazing, and I think that will be an aha moment for a lot of people listening, that have struggled to make it work for them. So I'm so glad that you're here to shed light on that. For all the other listeners that don't have direct access to you and your work, and even I know that you have expensive equipment that helps you with this work, how can we determine how far away we are emotionally and vibrationally from being able to create the life that we actually want to live?
Well, it's pretty easy, but what I'd like to do is actually tell you about kind of the experiences and how I've really discovered what I'm going to teach here is that when I got people into my office, that people that were saying, like, I feel like I'm doing everything right, but I don't know what's going on, right? And, can you give me a hand? One of the first things I did is just walk them through an emotional inventory of their life and what they are experiencing. And what I did is I did this with 14 sensors, EEG sensors on their head that monitors brainwave activity in real time, right? So I'm recording their brainwaves all in real time with this equipment. And so what I would do is I'd have them sit there and just think about their daily activity. I'd have them think about the day before, everything they went through, the morning, the afternoon, and I could monitor all their brainwave activity in real time. And it's really amazing because brainwave activity correlates very strongly with what you're actually feeling. I mean, I can look at somebody's brainwaves, and with a reasonable amount of accuracy, I can predict not only what you're doing, but what you're feeling, and sometimes even what they might be thinking about and the way they might be thinking about. So I record their activity, and I have them imagine what happened the day before, and then I'll bring them back another day, and then I'll have them bring them back another day, and I'll record all this brainwave activity, and then what I'll do is I will tell them, now, imagine that you've just accomplished your biggest goal. Imagine that you are now feeling all those feelings as if you had just accomplished your goal, and you're getting ready to call maybe your best friend or your parents or a coworker, and you're about to tell them about your success. And I go, bring that emotion, start to feel it. And then I record the brainwave activity then. And what I do is I bring them back and I go, see the difference here. Right? You see the difference. And as soon as I show them the brainwave activity for what they go through on a day-to-day basis, and I compare it with those feelings as if they've just accomplished their goal, they're just getting ready to tell their best friend or whoever it is about their success, the activity is radically different. It's radically different. And it's a jaw-dropping moment for everybody that gets to see it. I mean, they look at it and they instantly know. They instantly know what has to change. So what I've discovered at this point is that after I've shown them all their brainwaves and how the way that they have to feel day to day, moment to moment, to really bring about their goals, what I noticed is that once they leave my office, they can't do it. Right? When they're in my office and I'm working with them, they can do it, but when they leave my office, they can't do it because they go back to their lives that are filled with stress and anxiety and kids and bills and all this other stuff. And what that does is it disrupts the brainwave activity in a really powerful way, in such a way that they can't connect with those emotions, those feelings that really help them make the right decisions and achieve their goals. And this is critically important because not only just for the law of attraction, but for everything. Because what neuroscience tells us is that the quality of choices we make, the actions we take, and even what we believe is intimately tied to the way we feel moment to moment, right? And for years, a little side story here, but for years I've been experimenting on my friends, families, and neighbors, and I just recently moved to a new neighborhood, and so I've kind of been quietly experimenting on them, And what will happen is that if somebody comes over and they're in a real bad mood, for whatever reason, I'll take them down to my dartboard. I'll take them outside the basketball net, or I'll take them out to, and I'll give them 3 darts, and I'll pull them like way behind the line that people normally throw darts at, and I'll say, do you believe that you can hit this bullseye with 3 darts? And, every single time when they're in a bad mood, they say, no way, right? And then maybe I hang out with them, I work with them without them knowing it. I use a little bit of hypnosis. I bring up their moods, and they start to feel better. And then later on, I have them do the same thing. And then I watch how their beliefs change, right? The fact that I've elevated their mood, most of them will say, yeah, I could probably do it. And in fact, a lot of them will come really close, and some of them will even do it. And what that really shows, again, is how powerful, how critically important it is that our emotions be in line with what we're doing, because, it used to be believed that we can't hold more than one belief about any particular thing, but we know that's not true. I mean, we can actually hold many beliefs about many different things, and depending on our actual emotional state, right, that will dictate which belief gets activated. And we all know if you believe you can or you can't, right, you're right. So when I get to show people this technology and the difference in what they have to do, again, they're really amazed. But for people that don't have access to what I do and the technology, and I can't put the brainwave thing on their head, there's a really simple exercise I can guide you through that really pinpoints what you need to know, what you can experience for yourself in terms of maybe how far you're away from your emotional state. And I'll walk you through it right now if you like.
That would be great.
All right. So what you do is that for everybody listening to this call, I mean, as long as you're in a place where you can safely do this experiment, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. I mean, only do this when you can give it your full attention. But essentially, this is what I'd like you to do. Is close your eyes, and I'd like you to think about, again, your day yesterday. Think about your day yesterday, how you woke up, how you went through your day, the good, the bad, the ugly, right? Anything that happened through the day, any type of stresses, your lunch, your afternoon, your evening. Think about your social interactions. And I want you to do the best you can to just feel the way you felt at those moments in time. Right? And then I want you to go back one more day. So the day before. Think about your morning, how you woke up, how did you feel? Think about your breakfast, if you had breakfast. Did you rush the kids off? Did you have to pay bills? How did you feel? What was your emotional state as you went through lunch, as you went through work, as you dealt with family and friends, and how you finished the night? And then I want you to go back one more day and do that again. Notice how you felt when you woke up, how you felt in the afternoon, how you felt in the evening. And I want you to pay attention to the range of the emotional experiences that you had throughout that day. And then go back one more day and just move through it really quickly this time, because you get the idea. And what was the range of emotions that you felt through that day? Okay. Now open your eyes and just sort of shake it off a little bit. I mean, there might have been some good experiences there, some bad ones, and what have you. But, Aaron, if you did this with me, and I know a lot of people the first time I did it, I found out that, my life was actually pretty boring. You're doing the same things over and over again, your range of emotions, right? I mean, really, if you think about it, what were the range of emotions that you felt at that time?
Yeah, they did. They felt somewhat limited, for sure.
Yeah, you feel like you're repeating the same things over and over again, right? And when I did it with myself the very first time, I went, wow, I got to really spice things up a little bit here, because you really want to enrich the range of emotions that you have. So now what I want you to do is everybody just close your eyes again, only when you can do it safely and give it your full attention. And I want to think about your deepest desire. Now, if you're good at visualizing, you can visualize it. I mean, some people aren't great at creating pictures in their mind, and that's okay. All I want you to do is to experience it in whatever way that's best for you. And I want you to experience your deepest desires, your most urgent goals maybe, your most important goals, what you'd like to manifest and create for yourself in your life. And I'd like you to start thinking about that. And I want you to turn up the intensity in whatever way that you can. And sometimes you can just ask your unconscious mind to turn up the intensity, and it will do it for you. Right? Just start to bring those emotions, feel it from your head to your toes and all the way back up to your nose. And feel it spinning in your body until that smile starts to get really big. And you can feel it, and you can't stop. You couldn't stop smiling if you tried. And I want you to think about how you would feel as if you've just accomplished those goals, those desires, and you're getting ready to tell a best friend or a coworker or your parents. And feel that emotion grow, grow, grow. And you know what? Ask yourself, and I'm going to ask you to do it, just double it, right? Because your unconscious mind can do multiplication really easy. It's an unconscious process. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, double it again. Double it again until your smile is so big it almost hurts. That's right. Whew. That felt good. Now you can open your eyes and think about it. Did that feel differently? Did that feel different than when you were thinking about what you went through on your average day, the range of emotion that you felt through in your average day?
For me personally, it felt very different. There was a lot more of excitement. There was this, happy, ecstatic energy that was just building and building and building.
Right. Very different from the type of emotions that you feel day to day. Well, when people come in and say, I'm doing the law of attraction perfectly, and I go, are you? I run them through this emotional inventory, and I go, this is what you have to bring into your daily life. Right? These are the kind of emotions that you have to bring into your daily life as much as humanly possible. Right? They have to line up with your desires. And again, the brainwave activity doesn't lie. Right? When I have people do that, and I don't have to show you the brainwave activity because it changes automatically based on what you're thinking, doing, and feeling. Right? So this should give everybody out there a really good indication of how far they might be emotionally from creating the kind of attractor force that's really necessary to pull in, and to attract and to do the things that you need to do every single day, right, to create the life you want to live. Because think about it. I mean, there's the attractor force, but there's also your decisions that you make, right, the choices you make, the beliefs you have, right? In that state that you just experienced, your beliefs will be radically different about what you can do and what you can manifest and how you can go about your life in the most efficient way than when your brain is working like it normally does.
It's amazing, the difference, and you can feel it tangibly, what that difference is, and what a great indicator. It's like a little test you can give yourself, right? Everyone, I hope you paid attention to that exercise because it is something that you can do kind of to take your temperature as far as that distance between the life you want to create and where you are. That's amazing.
Yeah. And you know what? I'd like to add one single thing. I've got a formula for how this kind of works, right, for law of attraction. It really seems to work, and it's this. Your ability to create and maintain emotions on demand will equal your ability to aim, to utilize the law of attraction and achieve your goals, or use any type of program that's designed to accelerate you to your goals. Because, again, it affects our beliefs, it affects our actions, it affects our decisions. And that's assuming you have great goals. If you don't have great goals, well, that's another issue. But assuming you have great goals, that you will find that formula will be 100% true. To the extent that you can create the motions that line up with what your desires are, what your goals are, will be the extent that you can use the law of attraction or achieve your goals, or use any process to achieve your goals.
Amazing. Now that we know that difference and the two sort of emotional feeling states and even the brain states of being where you are and being where you want to be, so to speak, how do you maintain that amazing high level of emotional vibration and frequency throughout the day? Like, do we have to constantly, go back to that thought process and bring it into our minds? Or is there, because that to our everyday listeners and going through our normal day, it feels like it might be something hard to do.
Well, without help, it is hard to do. I mean, for most people it's really hard because their daily lives are filled with stress and chaos and other low vibrations that, just don't allow people to naturally produce the type of brainwave activity that makes this easy. Because if your brainwave activity is nice and cleaned up, it's in balance, it's in step with itself, people can do this naturally and easily. There's a couple things that you can do. And really what we're teaching here is the ability to feel the way you want to feel when you want to feel it, right, which is a skill. And just like any skill, right, it requires a little bit of practice. And the more you practice, the better that you'll get. So, I mean, there's one way you can do this. You can just force yourself to practice. Throughout the day, just stop, right, and then connect with your dreams and desires and bring those emotions into your life. And listen, there's one thing you have to know, is that when you start to feel really good really good. Your brain starts to secrete all kinds of great neurochemicals, and those neurochemicals will change the way you take action. It changes the way you think. It changes the way you behave. It changes your beliefs and the choices you make. But those chemicals stay active in your brain for hours and hours and hours. They just don't vanish in 10 minutes. They stay with you. They can stay with you sometimes for a couple days. So if you spend a few times, 3 or 4 times a day, and you bring it into your mind and do it, you will produce amazing transformations in your life if you force yourself to do it, despite the way you feel. But again, like I said, most people can't do it without a little help, right? Because of just all the chaos. When the brainwave activity is so disruptive, there's research out there that shows when you're focusing and concentrating that if somebody interrupts you, it can take up to 18 minutes to get back your full concentration. Yeah, that's crazy. And so when you got media bombarding you from every direction, social media and stuff interrupting us every 2 seconds, of course it's very hard to do this unless you take some steps to really clean up your brainwave activity. And once your brainwave activity is all cleaned up, you can do it effortlessly and naturally, just as everybody did on the phone here today.
That's amazing. And I think we can all relate to all that sort of stimulus pulling us in a million different directions, and the idea of cleaning that up and having that focus. Everyone wants that focus, that crystal clear focus, that feeling that gives you, which is, it's almost like a serene feeling, and even a very strong, empowering feeling when you don't have your brain in 5,000 different directions.
That's correct.
Now, you said earlier that assuming that a person has great goals and they do not create any subconscious resistance, that the ability to create the necessary emotions on demand will equal the success you have with the law of attraction. How can we tell if our goals or what we want to manifest is creating that subconscious resistance?
Yeah, that's actually the other part of that equation, and I'm really glad you actually said the word subconscious resistance, because that's what it is, right? It's stuff that blocks us. The vast majority of subconscious resistance comes from either bad beliefs, self-doubt, or self-worth issues. And fixing these issues in relation to your goals and the life you want to create is actually pretty easy if you follow a couple simple instructions. It doesn't have to be super complicated. Most subconscious resistance is created based on how specifically you set your goals. And if you make some changes to how you set your goals, you can eliminate the vast majority of subconscious resistance before it even has a chance to slow you down. And because you've eliminated the resistance after you've done this, you'll begin to manifest your goals, achieve your goals. And what happens is it creates social proof, and then the source of the resistance starts to disappear, which is a phenomenal thing. I mean, I think way too many people focus their time and attention, say, I got all these blocks, all these negative, beliefs, and they do all these things, and they focus on the negative beliefs, and they try to uproot them and pull them out of their life. But the thing is that you don't have to do that. If you do that, it'll take a lot longer, right? Because whatever we focus on expands. This is the truth. Even neuroscience shows this. But if you do some really simple things and do things in such a way that's not going to trigger the resistance, as you begin to succeed, the source of the resistance will just naturally go away because you're creating social proof. And it only takes one concrete counterexample that you've consciously created for yourself in your life to just eliminate a wealth of bad beliefs and problems. I'll give you an example of how to do this, right? A real-world example of how you can change the way you set your goals. Now, one of the best ways to do this is set your goals in a way that you can get social proof. The subconscious mind, it really likes to stay the same in a lot of ways. It's all about homeostasis, and so, which is kind of like a balance. So if you set a goal that it doesn't have any reason to believe that you can achieve it, it'll create subconscious resistance. One of the easiest ways to create goals that don't trigger subconscious resistance is to chunk them down into really small, ultra small, manageable chunks that lead you right to your big goal. So the idea is that each smaller goal leads you to your big goal. And so your small goal, and actually every goal that you create, you're actually creating a goal ladder, if you will. You have your big goal, you chunk it all the way down to where you are right now. So if you're setting, let's say, a financial goal to make, $10,000 a month or $1 million a year or wherever it is, right? And you only got $10 in your pocket. And there's no other real proof that you've created for yourself that your subconscious would believe that you could do it. You can have subconscious resistance all over the place. But if you take that goal and you chunk it down, you go, well, before I have $1 million, I'll probably have 750,000. And before I have 750,000, I'll probably have 500,000. Before I have 500,000, I'll probably have 250, and so on and so on and so forth, until you get down to the $10 that's in your pocket. And so your first goal is maybe to turn that $10 into $15. Put it in a checking account and name it something specific. There's research that shows that really helps. And you start to build this chain of goals, and each success that you make creates social proof to your mind, and it gives a counterexample to whatever it is that you've believed. Now, the thing you got to watch out for this is that when you chunk things down that small, your first 5, 6, 7 goals might seem really meaningless because they're really small. I'm going from $10 to $15, big whoop, right? I'm going from 15 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 50, 50 to 100, 100 to 500. But you gain momentum as you do it, and it starts to rewrite all the things that were causing subconscious resistance and beliefs about whether you could or couldn't do something. Right? Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense, and I can see how that would be a positive snowball effect, right, of just growing and growing and growing and sort of opening up that belief center that we all have of what can and can't be done,
Right.
It's really amazing to, clear those channels and, like you said, let social proof of our own experiences be our guide and build on each other.
Yeah, you'll get an entire new neural net in your brain. It creates new neural pathways, right? And it creates momentum. And I'll tell you one thing, is that, Einstein was fascinated about this whole thing about compound interest. But in psychology, he always thought that was just the most amazing thing in the world. In terms of psychology and behavior, creating momentum for yourself like this is more powerful than I've ever seen anything, right? As soon as you start to chunk things down in such a way, and then especially if you add, you clean up your brainwave activity, wow, it's amazing how fast a lot of the negative stuff just melts away. And you don't even have to focus on it. You don't have to think about your bad beliefs and all the stuff, that trauma maybe you went through your life and all that stuff. You don't have to think about it at all. You just set things up in such a way that will allow your brain to get what it wants, what it needs, and that's that social proof. And it's absolutely phenomenal. Now, there's just one more scenario that I'd like to talk about that plays out a little bit differently, that might require a little bit more attention in terms of money, abundance. And I know these days a lot of people are asking for strategies about how to, create more abundance in their lives. And the subconscious resistance that come from having to do with money, vary based on individuals, but one of the things I see a lot is this whole negative association to money, subconsciously. Maybe people grew up with poverty consciousness, a limiting consciousness. When I work with kids and, when I'm working to get them out of generational poverty, this is crucial. They're all stuck in this poverty consciousness, this consciousness of lack, right? And sometimes it's so strong that even the idea of chunking it down seems to really move slowly for them. And so often what I'll do is I'll have them change the nature of their goal. So it's not about money anymore. It's about something else, but something that's closely related to money. And so here's an example. My mentor and teacher, Elizabeth, she had a client that was for years and years and years and years was trying to get this promotion, right? And she just couldn't get it. I was passed up. And it was a big promotion. It was about money, right? It was a big, big money promotion. And for whatever reason, it just wasn't happening. She was the most qualified. Everything about her and her performance said, this is the job for you, right? But she just didn't get it. And what Elizabeth found is that she was having all this resistance towards money that dated back to when she was really young, this poverty consciousness. And so what she did is she found out something that she was very, very passionate about that wasn't directly associated with money, but required money in order to get it. Okay, and what she found out is this person really loved shoes. And not just any shoes, really expensive shoes. One of the things that made her happiest in life is when she could go out and buy a $1,000 pair of shoes. And I don't know what those look like, but maybe my wife does. But this was such a big passion for her that she said, okay, well, we're going to transform your goal about getting this promotion, which is ultimately about money, right? And we're going to transform it to about getting all the shoes you've ever wanted in your entire life and the most expensive you can get, and had her focus on that. And what that did is it instantly eliminated all the subconscious resistance, because her goal wasn't about getting money directly, but it was about getting something that required money. And what happened within 3 months, or it might have been less, she got the promotion. She got the promotion, just came out of nowhere. And other things happened too. When you do make a shift like this, I mean, she started getting shoes dropped off at her house. People said, I bought these shoes, and I wore them a bit, but they don't fit, so here, do you want them? Right? So
I love that. She ended up with both goals.
That's right. But that's another quick way that you can just change the nature of your goal so you're not triggering subconscious resistance. Everybody out there, if you really think about it, I mean, you know whether you have some kind of subconscious resistance one way or another to anything that you're trying to achieve for yourself. And so instead of just focusing on that and thinking, you got to get rid of all this debris in your life, just change things around a little bit so you can get that social proof and move forward. And then eventually all those reasons will disappear anyway as you begin to achieve your goals.
I love that. Because so many of our listeners, that money trigger, it's so specific, and so many people have specific blockage to money issues, and, there's no way they can dress it up. They haven't found that sort of sidestep. But it's really an amazing creative opportunity for us all to, break those negative and subconscious blocks to money. And I think that many people are going to have their, aha moment right now and be like, oh, my God, this is it. This is going to be a key for people to change their financial picture and be able to finally achieve those financial goals.
Yeah, and for everybody it does it. I mean, if anybody out there that recognizes they especially have this money thing, maybe you grew up in a family that, said I can't afford it all the time, and, you heard all that language and it's embedded deep, deep, deep inside your mind. Yeah, just change the nature of your goals. Make it about trips. Make it about, anything, and you'll find that your brain will create the path of least resistance, and most of the time that'll be money. Sometimes you'll actually just get it through another mechanism. Right? But more than not, the path of least resistance really is about attracting the wealth, and it's an indirect way of creating a radical, amazing powerhouse of attractor force, right, to pull that into your life. Now, there's a couple other things, just general guidelines, though, that I'd like to give everybody just to remove subconscious resistance. And, I mean, I think the first one is everybody knows, is, right, you put it in whatever your goal is, whatever you want to attract, whatever you want to manifest, you want to put in the positive. Right? I think most of us know that, but it's good to be reminded. Right? So you always talk about what it is that you'd love, that you'd like, that you desire, and you really focus on that. The second one is, a lot of people don't know this, but it's critically important. You make your goals about you and not other people. I had somebody call me on the phone, actually, because I did another interview and told me about this and said, you didn't mention this. And they were absolutely right. I mean, you don't want to make your goals and your desires about other people. It has to be all about you. And sometimes people will say, I really want this person to fall in love with me. Well, that's not a really good goal. That'll trigger subconscious resistance right away. Because, you know what, you can't control that other person. Your subconscious mind knows it. And so it's about the language. Your subconscious mind doesn't know what your conscious mind means. I mean, it's super powerful, but it's incredibly digital. The language that you use to program, what you want to achieve and what you desire is critically important. And as soon as the language is off, and it presupposes maybe controlling somebody else, subconscious resistance comes up. I knew there was a lady that she had this really great goal, was to take her entire family on a cruise. And she never got there because and she said, I could never get the money to do it. She got money for all kinds of other things, but for this goal never came up because there was subconscious resistance, because it depended on all of her adult children and their children making a choice to come with her on the day that they choose. And so people that want to be liked at work, and people set goals like that to have better friends. Well, here's how you can transform those goals to make them about you, so it's under your control. Maybe, I'd like to become the type of person that this person would fall in love with. Do you see, linguistically, do you hear the difference?
Absolutely, yes.
Right. Or I want to be the kind of person that everybody at work is naturally attracted to, that wants to hang out with. Okay, so that's the language is very different. And so when you change it linguistically like that, this is where the NLP and hypnosis comes in, and it's really important to know. When you change your language to support how your subconscious brain works, the subconscious resistance disappears. Right? So that's really important.
Yeah, the power of words is just like adding a cherry to the layer so far, right? It's like there's more. There's so much we can do, and there's so much within our control. I think that's what I'm personally discovering on this call, is just that it's sort of unlimited what you can achieve and unlimited what you have control over. It's really about aligning everything and, taking everything from outside and starting within. Even you saying taking those external goals and bringing them into what the person you need to be, and I think that will definitely result in not only achieving your goals, but also being happy, which, who doesn't want that?
Yeah, ultimately that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Some people think they want money, but really they just want to be happy, right?
Yeah,
money
exactly.
doesn't equal happiness. And I know a lot of billionaires that, they would give up all their money just to be happy again.
Absolutely. Now, earlier you said you had a technology that makes it easy to begin creating and maintaining that right emotional state that'll match up to that beautiful high vibrational frequency with what we desire. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. I guess I stated earlier, like unless you practice in increasing your emotional vibration, like in practicing those emotions every single day of your life, right, that lines up and matches up with what you desire, it's going to be very hard to ever get to where you want to go. And I found that I can train people how to do it, but when they get back to their lives, they can't do it because their lives are so, messy, like in terms of just all the stuff goes on. And mine too, right? And it's hard to get away from it because, this is why monks live up high in the mountain. And they get away from everybody because they realize everything that goes on in the world really messes with the brain. And I found in the last 10 years specifically, every time I test somebody, every time I put my brainwave helmet on them and I start to read their brainwaves, I see disruptions in their brainwave patterns that weren't there when I was doing it 10 years ago. And so, anybody that's, like, I'm in my 40s right now, anybody that's older than me or as old in their 50s and maybe 60s, you can really understand how much the world has changed, right? You look back and go, holy cow, what has happened here in this world? And so much has changed. We're being asked to adapt. Our brains are being asked to adapt faster than ever before. And for people that grew up in a simpler time, it can be very challenging. And so what happens, and with social media interrupting us every 2 seconds and all the negative programming, our brainwave patterns are messed up. They just simply won't allow us the clarity of thought to make the right decisions, and to even have the ability to bring up those emotions in our lives that we really have to have so we can make the right decisions, so we can do the right things and attract what we want. So what I did is I created brainwave entrainment, brainwave stimulation type of technology that addresses this issue specifically, and I call it deep conscious awakening. And I created it specifically to address the fact that people just can't seem to not only manage their emotions but also create emotions when they want, feel the way they want to feel when they want to feel it. Although it is a very natural state. Everybody that went through this exercise could do it. Everybody that's in my office can do it, but when you're back in your day-to-day life, you can't. So I created this program specifically to help people do that. This technology cleans up your brainwave patterns, right? It eliminates all that chaos, all that unorganized activity, and stimulates the part of your brain that allows you to just be able, on demand, create an emotion and then spin it in your body. And you can feel it from your head to your toes and create that amazing attractor force. But not only that, but activate the type of beliefs. We talked about, in terms of beliefs, it's a matter of activation. If you're not feeling good, you can activate bad beliefs. If you're feeling really great, you can activate really great beliefs. So it's about that as well, which ultimately will change the way your life unfolds. If anything else, we're a product of the type of decisions that we make day in and day out, right? And so this is the technology I created to address this.
It's nice to have a tool, someone with your vast experience and, who, you've traveled through NLP in its evolution. You know, you've been doing it so long, you've been able to take almost all of that knowledge with the law of attraction, combine it together, and create this amazing tool for people to use. Do you have a sample that you can share with us?
You know what? Well, yeah, my team and I queued one up, and hopefully it'll get over as sort of a high-definition sample, but I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work over the phone. I mean, depending, depending, and for people that are on computers or whatever, I mean, it may come through mono, it may come in high definition. I really don't know. I mean, chances are it's going to be a whole lot less beautiful sounding and amazing and effective. But yeah, I did bring one, and I'd like to play it for you. And so everybody that has the ability to do it, if you're at a computer, get a set of headphones, put those on. If it is in stereo in high definition, you'll experience it, and just let the technology work on you, and for a few minutes, so you can really get a good idea of what's really possible here. So having said that, get your headphones ready, and we'll start it in just a few seconds.
was amazing. Oh my God. I hope all of you had the opportunity to grab those headphones real quick and enjoy that.
Yeah, I'm really glad you liked that. I hope you got to experience it in 3D in the full stereo. I know some people will have had the opportunity, and depending on how it came through, but yeah, it's fantastic technology, and you can start to feel it right away.
Absolutely, and I just feel I guess the best way I can describe it is a physical vibration, even beyond the emotions and the clarity that I'm feeling in my mind, which is amazing. And that's just with a sample. Imagine what you can do when you're actually using your full program and the full tool of Deep Conscious Awakening. Now, Jeff, what I'm really curious about, now that you've kind of given us a teaser, I'm curious about what's possible for everyone who's on the call with us today. Can you take a couple of minutes and share some of the amazing turnarounds you've seen from people who have applied what you teach?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I mean, I get about over 1,000 rave reviews year after year of the technology that I create, but there's some that just really stick out in my mind. I have one guy, Sean, who he was working on this financial and abundance stuff for years and years and years and years, and really could never get anything off the ground at all. I started working with him. I started giving him the brainwave entrainment technology, telling him to feel work with his emotions every day. Using the brainwave entrainment technology allowed him to clear up his mind and really start bringing in all those principles and making better decisions. And within 2 months, he created what he says in his own words, more money than he saw in the last 2 years combined. He actually started a self-publishing company. He couldn't have picked a harder industry, right? In my mind, when I think about, what things I'd like to do, that just comes up as one of the hardest possible things I could ever think of doing. And, literally in 2 months, he gets it off the ground, makes a pile of money, and is now since grown it again and again and again. He sent me a video testimonial. It was absolutely amazing. And I guess several like that, where people have just, picked up and said, you know what, finally had the guts to go back to school. Deborah was one of them, and she got the job she wanted and started creating more financial abundance in her life. On the other ends of things, because not everybody's goals are about financial and abundance, but are deeply connected to other emotional issues. I was doing a webinar, and this lady called in, and she said, Jeff, I just wanted to tell you that using what you've taught and using the technology, that I've been able to get off antidepressants that I've been on for 22 years. And, the call went silent, right? What? 22 years you were able to get off antidepressants, and I don't think there was a dry eye on the call. And
that's just incredible. That's just incredible. That's such a life change. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine.
Well, I know. I know it works, but when these type of testimonies come in, it's just absolutely, it warms my heart in a way that I can't even describe. And I have to throw in a disclaimer here. No one should ever get off their prescribed drugs or medication, right, without working with a doctor. She worked with her doctor firsthand. You don't want to do that, right? But that's, you ask what's possible. That's an example of what's possible. You know what else happened? With this technology, I wasn't there for this, but somebody else came up to them and said, in using this technology, my husband hadn't spoken a word for 11 years. 11 years, hadn't spoken a word. And after, I can't remember how long it was, it was a little while, of using the technology, he went up to his wife and called her by her name for the first time in 11 years, right?
My gosh.
Just extraordinary. And people go, well, how does that happen? How is that even possible? Well, what happens is the technology begins to create new neural netting in the brain, right? It encourages new neural pathway growth in very specific ways. And as the neural nets begin to grow, you're increasing the power of your brain, of your processing power. You're connecting the conscious mind with the subconscious mind, filling in the gaps, and absolutely amazing things can happen. People creating relationships, getting jobs. I mean, I've had two people this week have called me and said it saved their lives.
You can't get better than that.
This is why. Now, I mean, again, these are some pretty big examples, but this is what's possible. I mean, if you stick with the technology and you use it, amazing things are possible for you.
And it's across the boards. I mean, you've given us amazing examples of wealth creation and, recovery and just emotional and even psyche recovery. It's just amazing. And I know that everybody else is excited to learn what else you have for us today. So I'm going to jump in and say the reason I'm here and have asked Jeff to join us is because I enjoy helping people take control of their life. And there's so much more that we can all learn from Jeff. I asked him to create a special offer for all of us listening to this call. I highly encourage you to go to Jeff's offer right now to experience it for yourself. Go to www.awakentoyourgreatestlife.com/deep awakening. That's DEEPAWAKENING. Jeff, can you let everyone know what they'll find there?
You're going to find the Deep Conscious Awakening program. It helps create new neural netting that cleans up your brainwave activity. But at first, there should be a video there. And I'm going to encourage everybody to watch the video because what I did, there's nothing like proof, right? So what I did is I took 4 clients that I've worked with, that I've monitored their brainwave activity, and I took snapshots as I was working with them of their brainwave activity from before, during, and after. And I want you to watch this video because you're going to see in real time how fast this technology can clean up your brainwave activity and give you the ability to create the emotions you want, to make better decisions, to live the life that you want to live, to feel the way you want to feel when you want to feel it. I mean, it'll show you how fast this can work with people. And so, after you watch the video, what you're really going to find there is a brainwave stimulation and entrainment program I call Deep Conscious Awakening, and I've created it specifically for everyone that has been struggling to achieve their goals and create the life that they've always wanted to live. So, this is for everyone that is struggling for one reason or another, that knows that they want to create a better life but is just running up against roadblocks. And remember, every time I've tested people that are banging their heads against the wall that can't get anything off the ground, what I see is that their brainwave activity is a mess. And then as soon as the brainwave activity is cleaned up, they begin to take off like a rocket, whatever it is that their goals are. So this is what you're going to find there. And one of the things that's really amazing about this program is that each Deep Conscious Awakening audio accomplishes what would normally take, 10 different audios to do. So for every one audio, it accomplishes what 10 different audios from other technology and other brainwave entrainments could do. Normally if you wanted more creativity, you'd have to pull out a brainwave entrainment audio just for creativity. If you wanted inner wisdom, and you'd have to get another audio. If you wanted to heighten your intuition, you'd have to get another. And if you wanted, relief from stress and anxiety, or you wanted to produce some clarity of thought, again, you'd have to pick up another specific audio. Well, I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm using some really advanced technology, brainwave entrainment with brainwave stimulation, along with a host of other brain enhancement technologies. I've been able to take my experience as a hypnotist, as a neurolinguistic programmer, and to be able to integrate some of these concepts right into the audio. So it's doing more than just brainwave entrainment. Actually, to call this just brainwave entrainment is almost an insult. It's so much more than that. But you're able to get all these type of things and much more in just one 20-minute session with one of these audios. And the reason, and actually the primary reason that it can do all this is because of how quickly it cleans up unbalanced, unhealthy brain activity and how quickly it can create balance in the brain. And so as the audios start to balance and harmonize your brain, they start to give you all kinds of other frequencies that help stimulate clarity of thought, mood elevation, production of positive neurochemicals. We talked about how important that is. Once you get good neurochemicals flowing, they stay with you for hours. And if you get a big surge of them, they can stay with you for 24 hours or longer. They help you feel better and help you create the emotions and the life you want to live. They help stimulate higher brain function and enhance creativity while bridging the gap between the subconscious and conscious mind. And when you watch that video, you're going to see something really amazing. You're going to see how chaotic the brainwave activity, and you'll watch, I've got a couple great screenshots, how everything comes into balance. So there's 14 sensors that are attached to people's brains, well, not on the brain, on the skull, right, that's measuring the most important parts of the brain. And you'll see how most of the time the brains look like they're fighting each other, right, in the beginning. And the brainwave activity where the brain is fighting itself, there's no way you're going to have a great day, or it's very hard to have a good day. It's very hard to make the right decisions, to be motivated, to do what you have to do to live the life you want to live, and also create the emotions that really fuel the law of attraction. But what you see in this video is that all 14 sensors start to pick up the exact same brainwave spikes at the exact same time. That's the type of brainwave activity, the type of brain balance that allows you to access the deepest levels of your subconscious resources and allows you to really, harness and focus your attention any way that you want to push it, any way that you want to focus it.
It's so powerful what you've done with this program, and I know that people are watching that video right now and, are getting blown away by seeing all that proof right in front of them, It's one thing to have the success stories, but to actually visually be able to look at that proof is amazing, amazing. And can you share with us a couple of the benefits that people can expect to experience starting right away and then over time by applying your program?
Sure. It's different for everybody, right? Because everybody is different. Everybody's, starting from different points and areas. Everybody has different challenges. Everybody has a different level of chaos in their life and, different things. But for most people, in 7 days, you should start to notice things cleaning up. I mean, once you've gone through about 4 or 5 days or a full week with your brain activity being cleaned up, better focused, highly organized, in step, where your brain is working as an entire unit instead of against itself, I mean, things will just start to happen during your day. I mean, again, it'll happen at different rates and speeds for every single person, but within 1 week, you should start to notice some shifts right away, and to the extent that you're not going to want to put it down. I mean, that's what happens. I mean, people that go and say, okay, I'm going to use this for 1 week or 2 cycles or whatever the case is, I mean, once you get into it and then you start consciously going out through your day saying, okay, change my emotion, change my, and line it up, I mean, you won't want to let it go for anything.
That's so fast, everyone. I hope you heard that. That is so fast, and you can feel how that momentum and that personal proof would just keep you using the program and keep getting bigger and bigger results. That's amazing. Now, I hate to cut this short, Jeff, but we're at the end of our time, and I want to make sure that you have a chance to share any final thoughts with us before we finish today.
Wow. You know what, Erin, I just want to say thank you. I mean, to you and to all your listeners. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you listening and sharing your time with me, and I really just want to offer everybody a blessing, really, and I bless every single one of you with all the peace, prosperity, happiness, and health that you can handle. And my hope is that as you begin to create that and bring that more into your life, that you also bless other people with it and continue to share it with everyone.
Thank you so much, Jeff. And I remind everyone, go to www.awakentoyourgreatestlife.com/deep awakening. That's DEEPAWAKENING. Thank you so much for sharing everything with us today, Jeff. I so appreciate your time and your teachings, and I look forward to our next call together.
Oh, thank you. Me too. I can't wait to be back.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye.